right.
All right, are we ready?
Yes. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to our final capstone presentation. We are Abraham, Jason, and Georgina. I'm Georgina. Next, please. Our objective with this project was to develop a long-term plan that reimagines wastewater treatment facilities with programmatic elements that integrate rather than segregate the campus with the surrounding community and ecosystem. Our vision for this project is based on the examination of the food, energy, water nexus and circular processes. Our specific area of focus is the 26th Ward wastewater treatment plant located in Jamaica Bay and its adjacent sewer sheds. Our main stakeholder is the New York City Department of Environmental Protection, who actually approached us for this project. They're interested in expanding their campus and integrating advanced concepts and community or learning. They're interested in learning how to integrate advanced concepts and community benefits to the site. And now Abraham will introduce you to our location.
Okay. Thank you, Georgina. So the 26th Ward wastewater treatment plant is located in East New York, north of Jamaica Bay. So it serves a population of about 280 people. It is designed to treat about 170 million gallons per day of wastewater. Due to climate adaptation plans, the DP is considering to centralize its operations, combining Coney Island, Rockaway, and Jamaica wastewater treatment plant into 26th Ward. Previous Capstone team projected a population increase of about 2 million people for East New York by the year of 2070, with a new capacity of 366 million gallons per day. The 26th Ward wastewater treatment plant, its cross street is Flatland Avenue with Van Sicklen. Its adjacencies, 26th Ward sits between residential and commercial zoning district, Starrett City on the west, New Lots in the north. Towards the east, you have the commercial zone of Gateway Mall, and directly south of the wastewater treatment plant, you have Shirley Chisholm Park. What you see in red is the existing wastewater treatment operations. What is in yellow is the available space for the extended campus, and green space to create connectivity between the parks, and what's in blue is the Hendricks Creek. Part of this project was to develop a site potential analysis for 26th Ward, where we identified facilities for adaptive reuse, either define new program or assess new building systems, plan operations for either optimization or integrating advanced technologies, as well as green infrastructure. And we've identified the square footages for the extended campus, which is approximately 565,000 square feet. Along on the north end of the 26th Ward, there is we've identified approximately 60,000 square feet for additional DEP operations.
So now that we have that you have seen our site, it is worth mentioning that this is a very complex and ambitious project with a lot of different elements. Like Abe mentioned briefly, we are the second capstone team developing this plan. And here I will briefly walk you through our conceptual flow diagrams to give you an overview of our vision. Right here, we're representing the existing treatment operations at 26th Ward. Next, please. Then we're starting to add our programmatic elements, which we'll talk in a little bit more detail as we continue. Here we have the food waste stream, which will feed into the 26th Ward digesters. For the energy portion, we're considering microgrid and distributed energy systems. This part of the project will be completed at a later time by our colleague, Jonathan Clutch. And now you are seeing our visions for added green infrastructure, including an eco-bridge and artificial floating wetlands to help with remediation of the adjacent water bodies. This is our food hub, which will include controlled environment agriculture and more space to support community integration. And finally, the Science and Technology Research Center, which will support smart systems and research and education programs. And now Jason will introduce the digestion system and the food waste stream.
Thank you, Georgina. Anaerobic digestion. Wastewater treatment is on the precipice of an evolutionary leap, one centered around industrial symbiosis and recovery through anaerobic digestion. The next evolutionary step is codigestion. Newtown Creek is currently the only New York City facility with a codigestion program. The benefits of codigestion are clear: fiscal, energy, and greenhouse gas. Pictured here is EB mud, the US poster child. Through codigestion, EB mud generates more energy than required to power the facility, but a successful codigestion program requires food waste capture. Excuse me. Next slide, please, Ed. The food waste stream. New York has separate residential and commercial collection systems and extremely poor capture rates. The diagram shows the optimized collection cycle with decontamination and slurrying before it's added to the facility stream, and a thermal hydrolysis step before digestion, which prepares for easier digestion and produces a safer digestate. New York City currently has no WRRFs with hydrolysis capabilities, but we want to give great thanks to the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. They're currently building out a digester program, and they worked with us on figuring out some of these ins and outs. On the right, note the codigestion icon that straddles the WRRF border. Starrett City has its own cogen plant. We mentioned they're located adjacent. Past attempts at cogen symbiosis haven't worked out between the two, but perhaps in the future, a more successful plan can be found. Let's take a closer look at the collection system now. Start with the residential. First, the residential stream under the purview of Department of Sanitation, or DSNY. In 2013, the city began its voluntary brown bin program, with participating residences given these bins for organic waste to be collected by DSNY. The program is currently suspended due to COVID issues. Seattle and San Francisco, with much higher capture rates, show that it's a long, slow process to get there. And the brown bin program represents a strong DSNY effort to get us started, even though initial capture rates are low. We do look forward to its resumption. The compost project is another significant initiative. Here, citizens are encouraged to carry organic waste to drop-off sites to be taken for composting. The program has been very successful in increasing diversion rates. Having worked on the project myself, I can report that the enthusiasm and support from participants is very encouraging. Next, please. In the landmark 2017 waste characterization report, DSNY separates out NYCHA housing. The NYCHA waste situation is dispiriting, but efforts are being made. NYCHA waste management plans are being enacted. One such initiative, currently in test pilot mode, installs in-sink garbage disposals at 3 separate developments. Early results are encouraging. We'll talk about that one a little more later. And then the last stream in the characterization report is the school system. The Zero Waste School Program is another program, may eventually bear fruit for capturing massive amounts of food waste. And more importantly, it's going to educate our young citizens on the hows and whys of how it all works. So if we take those 4 programs, filter them through an education lens, we see a potential capture of 520 tons per day in our combined 4 sewershed area, taken as a percentage of our sewershed population to overall city population, applying that ratio to the overall New York City food waste figure. Next, please, Ed. The commercial situations, considerably more developed. Here, businesses of a certain size are obligated to separate their organic waste and contract with private haulers. This diagram shows how the process works at Newtown, and it seems simple enough. But the Wild West scenario outside the controlled Newtown one is a very different story, with most of it ending at landfill, unfortunately. Thankfully, a major legislative overhaul is in the works, and it should lead to higher optimization. And of course, if we have another municipal co-digestion program at 26th Ward, that would help enable higher capture rates as well for the estimated 510 tons commercial food waste generated daily in that sewer shed. This chart illustrates the analysis. On the top left, we see the estimated available total of 1,030 tons per day. Anaerobic digestion can be a finicky, idiosyncratic process. These massive, costly systems can be prone to an upset tummy. It's a build-up process that takes years, decades even. Newtown, at least from the last reports we've seen, is up to 130 tons per day. And that seems like a good initial capture goal for us. So on the x-axis, from the left, we see the residential situation. 520 tons per day potential, basically none captured now, none expected for our phase one. NYCHA, though, which is part of that 520, presents an opportunity. The in-sink disposal program performs the necessary slurry function at the residential level, then adds the slurry to the most efficient form of conveyance, the sewers. No trucks needed. Based on our NYCHA analysis, we estimate an approximate 19 tons per day potential in the sewer sheds. Commercial will have to account for the other 111, which conveniently is not far off the current 107 we get by taking the overall commercial capture rate of 21% and applying it to the total available. Now, Georgina will talk about on-site food production.
Going back to the adjacencies for a moment, East New York and Starrett City are communities experiencing high rates of obesity, economic stress, and a low educational attainment. So the food hub, which I'll explain in a second, could bring environmental and social justice to the communities by eventually increasing the availability of fresh produce and serving as a research and training center for high-skilled green jobs next. So this diagram shows our vision for the food hub. This idea was born while we were thinking of ways to use the nutrients recovered from the codigestion process while adding something that would benefit the community. The treated effluent generated at the plant is of high enough quality for food production. However, there are tertiary treatment methods using plants and hydroponic systems that could eventually produce an effluent for reuse in agriculture as well. And then the grade A biosolids generated also from the food waste process can be used as a fertilizer for the crops. And then with different controlled environment agriculture methods, we could produce things like fresh leafy greens, tomatoes, and fish that can be distributed to the community through the nearby supermarkets and food retail stores. And then recent industrial applications of spent brewers grains show that they optimize the co-digestion process of food waste. So Jason will talk to you a little bit more about that.
The idea of locating a brewery at the WRRF started off as a fun thought piece, really based on a trade report about a small WRRF in Montana was able to control pollution reduction by adding spent brewer's grain to their digester. Then, over the course of the year, we saw more and more reports about municipalities and breweries engaging in symbiosis programs. Public-private partnership could provide tenant income to the WRRF, good jobs, and a gathering spot on beautiful Jamaica Bay. Beer and wastewater just seemed to be a natural mix. That bottle down in the right corner was the result of a partnership in Sweden between Brooklyn Brewery and the Swedish Environmental Research Institute. That program featured a Pilsner made from recycled wastewater. Using recycled water really closes the water loop for us. Now, Abe will talk about some programmatic elements.
All right. Okay. So understanding the complexity of this project and acknowledging the need for the integrative and iterative design process, technology, education, food production, and recreations were the main drivers for programming this project. The new programmatic elements revolve around biosolid and energy recovery campus, community and sustainability campus, the coastal resiliency and recreation campus. Okay. So challenges throughout the design process involved understanding the importance between bridging the urban fabric of East New York with the natural fabric of the Jamaica Bay. Iterations to the Eco Bridge based off of Team A's proposal was the main attraction, and potential strategies to replacing and optimizing the new digesters for the wastewater treatment. So here is a preliminary conceptual design for the 26-word Water Resource Recovery Campus for 2070. Okay, so this is a breakdown of how the program is allocated throughout the site. So towards Flatlands Avenue up in the north, space is allocated for the outdoor market and fresh market greenhouse for direct connections with the community of East New York. We've utilized space above the settling and aeration tanks for solar farming. Floating wetland systems serve as additional remediation from plant effluents into Hendricks Creek. plant nursery on top of the new proposed DEP operation facility, new co-digesters embedded 34 feet into the ground and serving as public art murals at the South Campus Controlled Environment Agriculture, Brewery, and Restaurant, as well as our Science, Technology, Community, and Resiliency Center. The main attraction is the pedestrian eco bridge, which serves as a connector for both parks, Gateway Mall and Starrett City. So this is a cross section showing just pretty much showing how it cuts through the Community Resiliency Center and the Brewery Pub, as well as showcasing DEP extended operations, which is below the eco bridge, which extends as or serves as a datum. The Science and Resiliency Institute serves as a stakeholder, as well as the New York City Parks and Recreation. Science and Resiliency Institute is focused on coastal adaptation and water quality flooding monitoring, as well as New York City Parks can serve as additional educational programming and recreation. Additionally, we've looked into citizens science government, which is an organization that focuses on providing citizens or people with the ability to participate in scientific inquiry. And as you can see on the bottom right, it's just an example of what the brewery could potentially look like or serve as for the community. Okay, we've also, part of our research has been looking into how advanced technology, data mining, Industry 4.0 is integrated into these sort of controlled environment agriculture and innovation centers of the future, where we're looking into optimization and advanced research, virtual labs, and augmented reality for workforce development. Additionally, we've allocated parking, which is submerged underneath a berm that sort of aligns with the park or the public arts mural where the digesters are located. Here we also have some of these spaces can provide dynamic and interactive spaces. So these for advanced display boards or data visualization and serve as educational materials. Here, research labs serve as a way for us to explore ways to advance ecological engineering through eco-living machines, examples such as John Todd's eco-living machines, as well as Omega Institute. We've also considered ways to sort of utilize resources from the primary sort of grit removal stage of the wastewater treatment plant and use those resources such as gravel and sand and sort of redirect them into additive manufacturing where we can sort of perhaps, further research is needed, but perhaps we can create artificial reefs for marine habitat restoration. Additionally,
30 seconds or so, sorry to cut you off.
Sorry. Additionally, we have community engagement, again, providing rooftop farms, aquaponics, and again, examples of how the digesters can serve as moral public art. And last, we have coastal resiliency and regeneration strategies. Again, the EcoBridge serving as a platform for native and pollinator habitats, floating wetland systems, again, to remediate the Hendricks Creek, and living shoreline to further improve the water quality. And lastly, we would just like to say that through the research project, we learned that the future of water resource recovery facilities seek to become energy efficient, recover resources, integrate production, smart systems, and have an engaged and informed community. Thank you.
Great, thanks team.
Oops, sorry.
Jim, I'll start with you. Questions, comments?
Yeah, this was a really expansive and ambitious proposal. And I don't think I'm in a position to maybe offer any questions or comments about the technical aspects of the proposal. I have a kind of a very mundane question. What would something like this cost? And what is the political the political context and the policy environment for a proposal like this? And what type of support is there likely to be? What type of opposition? Who are the stakeholders, both locally within this ward and in other parts of the city and beyond the city? How long would it take to implement this? Any additional information you could provide would be helpful.
I will go ahead and answer that question. Hi, Jim, by the way. Long time no see. Actually, there is going to be a third team that is going, and that's exactly their prompt to explore what are the policy constraints and all that. And as to your first question about the cost, we don't have that number because it was outside of our scope. Our main mandate was to provide a vision of what the different new architectural programmatic elements and, I guess, community forward programs could look like.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that a little too, G. The North Water Treatment Plant here in Harlem is a pretty good example. San Francisco reported, San Francisco, they're as we mentioned, they're building out a large biodigester project now, located directly adjacent to the community as well. And they report it's really very crucial to engage the community early on in the process, to get them involved in showing why this is good for them, why it's good for the city, and how this is going to benefit them. Just like the city did here with North River. Actually, the North River is a great story because it was more of the community saying, hey, wait a second, what are you building down there? We want to be involved. And in so doing, they ended up getting a great park, a state park, put on top of the plant. So it's crucial to have the community involved. And yeah, the cost thing, you know, it's going to be billions and billions, a little bit outside of our purview.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Jim. David?
Yeah, that time I was ready to go first, but that's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, just because I passed the first two times doesn't mean I always pass. I thought it was really interesting, the whole gestalt, how everything fit together there. So I commend you, and I also remember the previous one, which started on this. One thing and of course my main comment would have been some sense of the economics, not just in how to build it. So Jim sort of stole my thunder there, but also the operating costs. If once it's built, it will be self-sustaining, or it will need a strong infusion of cash on a regular basis, which the city is unlikely to be able to afford. So it would be great if you could address, at least qualitatively, not the capital cost, but the operating costs. Also, just simple question is, where is the subway? Because the subway, I mean, I used to live in East New York. You know, a lot of times subway systems, you know, they're underground. Things can interfere with projects. And is it close enough that the subway tunnels, used and unused, might somehow interfere with this? And finally, you mentioned eco bridge as if we all know what that means. I'm not sure I know what an eco bridge is.
Okay, so the eco bridge, in sort of its sort of traditional reference, it pretty much it uses sort of it's for wildlife to sort of cross over from one place to the other when you have sort of a road going through. But in this case, we're calling it an eco bridge because it's sort of it's not just connecting from one place to the other, but it's sort of providing a platform for recreational use and becoming an anchor for also native pollinator habitats and for the community to sort of engage with and learn about these plants and native species as they sort of connect from one place to the other.
So it's just a bridge. It's a bridge.
It's just a bridge, yes.
Okay, and you know, again, where is the subway relative to
So the subway wasn't indicated. We did indicate it last time, but it's if you can see towards the left, if you can see my mouse, it's you have Canarsie L train over here, and the 1 train New Lot stop over here.
You mean the 3 train, the one?
Yes, the 3 train. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering how close the 3 train comes to it, and whether the tunnels might get in the way. And any idea about the operating cost? Whether it will be
it was just a sort of conceptual, just theoretical approach to this project, where we're just sort of envisioning what this could be for 2070.
Yeah, and
It's
one other
project. It's a complex project.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really difficult because these things have 50 to 70 year time frame. So you're thinking about how to do it immediately, and then what is that going to mean in 50 years? There are a lot of costs associated with all the various programmatic elements. Some of them sucked up by a public-private partnership. The main one's the energy, though. These WRRFs require a tremendous amount of energy. I think the city spends about 100 million a year to power the 14 of them. If we get this thing like EB Mud to produce its own energy, capturing the waste, besides saving all the greenhouse gas and trucking miles and all of that stuff, it'll cut that bill out. So those operational costs go down significantly, and that is the main I believe that in labor, main operational costs of the whole thing.
Thank you. No, that's interesting because there you're addressing the long-term costs.
And we should interject, there was someone who was undertaking that energy focus and trying to look at the question of energy balance with the addition of organic waste, but that individual had to drop out this semester. So we're hoping to plug that piece in.
Great, thank you, team, and thank you, Hillary, and David and Jim. We have time for maybe one more question from the audience. Okay, then we will take a 5-minute really quick break. Once again, I invite folks to use the chat function to continue conversations. Thank you so much, team, and hope
Thank you.
up next at 6:35.
Great, thanks.
Great, thank you.